Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, now in our 6th season looking into the exciting happenings of Ipswich Town Football Club. My name is Mikey Penty-Smith. This is the first flagship show of 2021. That's easy for me to say. And joining me is the East Ipswich Massive, Joe Fairs and David Diamond. How are you both?
Yeah, good. Cheers, Mikey.
Yep, good, Mikey. Thanks.
Flawless opener.
As always, professional to the end.
And did you both enjoy the little break from following Ipswich Town the last 3.5 weeks or whatever it was?
Yeah, it certainly made for a slightly more enjoyable Christmas and New Year, didn't it? Really, without the overall general depression of it all.
If you'd have asked me at 5 o'clock yesterday, I'd have said, "Yeah, I really missed it," but maybe not now.
Yeah, it was. It was odd. It was strange, wasn't it? You know, a whole Christmas without a whole Christmas without a Town game was, and New Year was really, really odd. Really, to be fair, but can't say I missed it. Really, I've got to say, sadly.
But we have missed doing the podcast, haven't we, guys? And it's obviously been a few weeks since we were last on air. We're not going to go through all of the news from the last few weeks, who had COVID, who didn't. But let's just crack on with the news from the last 7 days. So last Sunday, Joe, we found out that Idris Ilmazuni was returning to Town after a underwhelming loan spell at Cambridge United. Do you think we might see Idris go back out on loan or maybe even come back into the side? And were you surprised that he didn't kick on?
I was hoping that he'd come back into the sort of squad and start to play a part, because I think he would have had a decent amount of game time had he stayed here. When you see who else has got game time around him, Liam Gibbs, Armando Dobra, Brett McGavin have all had a lot of game time, but you saw the team named yesterday, you saw Zander Ziziba on the bench and you didn't see Idris Elmazuni there. Yeah. And with this free club rule where you can't play for 3 teams in the same season, so if Idris does play for us this month, it means he can't go out. The fact he wasn't on the bench yesterday seems to indicate that we are looking to get him back out somewhere else.
Are you surprised he didn't sort of make more of an impression, Joe? Because I know he went back there. I mean, they were sort of raving about him. He saw 1 or 2 sort of snips of him from when he was there last. He scored an absolutely brilliant goal. 1 or 2 even, and I think it was really well thought of. And he just didn't work out for him, did it?
No, I don't. I think the problem is he went a bit later, so the season had started. By the time the season started, they were top of the league at that point, I think. So it's difficult to get your way into that team. And yeah. The sort of manager seemed to be set more on a 4-4-2 with him playing sort of a out-and-out left midfielder, or if they did play a number 10, Wes Hoolahan was there, and he plays ahead of him because obviously he's their player and sort of wily. And if you play a Wes Hoolahan, you then need 2 players to do his running for him, sit a bit deeper. And I think that's how they're playing Paul Digby, one of their 2 holding midfielders, and it's right? Like he just ended up effectively with no real role in the team and not able to sort of force his way into it, so the move just didn't turn out well.
Yeah, shame. Do you think he's been a bit usurped here now by McGavin though? Now, to a degree,
I think possibly, but I think McGavin's shown he can play that deeper lying role, which I think Idris could play, but maybe without as much discipline as Brett has played it with. So, sort of, McGavin has definitely taken his chance when he's had it as well. He may not have played well every game, but he's definitely played well in enough games to show he can. But
yeah, he's shown it, hasn't he?
I think you sort of see the team yesterday, and you got Dobra out on the left wing, and I think, well, I'd rather have Elmazuni out there personally.
Yeah, we'll get on to Dobra now, Dave. There's been a number of Ipswich players and staff members suffering with COVID-19 over the past few weeks. We obviously wish them all well. On Wednesday, it was announced that League One clubs will be tested twice a week from Monday onwards, so that's today onwards. What was your reaction to this news? And
it's about. I think the skipper sort of summed it up quite nicely. Sort of really about time, isn't it? Albeit from what we understand, is the owner's been sort of forking out since the start of the season. I think I read somewhere of about, I don't know, it's cost him something like 40 grand or something like that to provide the tests that have been provided so far. Look, if there is going to be any sort of longevity with this season, then it has to come in. And albeit you think it's maybe a bit too late now, but if it helps, it can only be a good thing.
Dave, sort of pre-pod, Dave and I were talking about the amount of fixtures that we've got coming up, and basically after this, sort of we play Burton on Saturday, Peterborough the following Saturday, and then after that we've got a midweek game every single midweek for the whole of February, for the whole of March, up until the Easter weekend. So next midweek is our only free midweek up until basically middle of April. So there's just no room to fit these games in if more get postponed. I say we had the last 4 postponed. If we have another 2-3 postponed in a row, and when you're playing 3 times a week, one outbreak of COVID is going to be 3 games done.
Yeah, and I was looking at some of the fixtures. I was looking at fixtures and the actual table. I think Accrington are now moved into top 6 now. They've only played 17 games. They're like 4. I think if they win their games in hand, we all know big if they'll be top. They'll be 3 points ahead of Lincoln. I think. I mean, just incredible.
And also after the Sunderland game, I think we've got 5 more away games and home games left over the remainder of the season. So there's a hell of a lot of travelling in there as well.
Yes, it's tough. I mean, if what we understand is right, and so we read that perhaps most of the squad, if not all of the squad, are available for training tomorrow. I think we're probably going to need them all, aren't we? If there's not going to be much coming in.
Yeah. Definitely. It's a good job we did such an efficient job of getting knocked out of all the cups, though, hey?
Good work, that.
Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday. One player who obviously won't benefit from Ipswich being out of the cup competitions, Joe, is Corey Ndaba, although he might benefit because he's now been sent out on loan to Ayr United. This has been a long time coming, hasn't it? A proper senior move for Corey Ndaba.
Well, yeah, from all I understand, last pre-season, I think he was brilliant through pre-season, it sounded like, over in Germany, and I think a lot of the sort of guys around the team and the squad and the journalists were surprised that it was Wolfie that got the nod over Ndaba at the start of the season, and then from that point on, Ndaba just didn't. He had 2 loan spells last year at Hemel Hempstead and Chelmsford where he did nothing. In reality, I think he got hooked after half-time, and one of them in his first game didn't play again, and then because of that, it then meant he had a move to Ayr lined up, but because of the free club rule, it meant that move got cancelled. So this is effectively 12 months later, and he's made no real progress, really. This was a move that was there from 12 months ago, which he couldn't take. We couldn't send him out at the start of this season because we needed the bodies in the squad, and he's just wasted a year, really. But I thought he looked really good when he's played in pre-season and also in the Papa John's Trophy and the EFL Cup. I think he might have played in as well. So hopefully he goes up there, gets sort of 4 or 5 months under his belt of actual playing week in, week out, and progresses. I think he was due to make his debut yesterday, but that game got postponed till Tuesday. I think that was weather though, rather than COVID.
Yeah, I think it was Wolfen had always had that advantage of having that sort of like battle-hardened season at Swindon as well. Didn't he? I think that's why he had the drop. That had the run on him then back then.
Well, you've got some evidence, haven't you, of that he can do it in the senior game, which counts for a lot.
Yeah, I saw he posted on his Instagram or something a really nice air sunset, didn't he?
Just after a certain member of the group had slated Ayr.
Wasn't that St Mirren? I think that
was it?
Yeah, I think it was St Mirren.
That was Colin Quainer, sorry.
Colin Quainer, that's right, I saw that.
The other big news is that Colin Quainer has swapped Huddersfield for St Mirren. And we were looking where St Mirren is, and it turns out it's in Paisley. So
it is.
A bit of a downgrade on where his digs were when he was on loan at Ipswich. Thanks for saying it for me, Joe. So moving on to Saturday, and for the first time in almost a month we were in action, and for the first time in 21 years, it was Swindon Town visiting Portman Road.
Wow.
Paul Lambert wasn't well enough to be on the touchline for this one, but he was in the building watching down from the stands, and he made 2 changes for this one, Joe, with a couple of big hitters returning to the squad as well.
Yeah, I presume that Ollie Hawkins is injured because we haven't heard anything about him, or he may have been one of the guys that had COVID and isn't well enough recovered. Same with Brett McGavin, but we saw who was it? Aaron Drinan in for Ollie Hawkins, and also Keenan Bennett, who did go off injured in the Burton game. He was replaced on the right-hand side. I can't even remember who played now last night. Dobra Judge and Caden Jackson. It was Dobra that came in to start, wasn't it? Where he being the sub.
Yeah, so
and then on the bench, though, big news on the bench.
Yeah.
Return of Flynn Downs and James Norwood on the bench.
Yeah. So just to recap that, it was the usual sort of, well, how do you describe our formation, really, if you're going to do it honestly? But I've got it written down as a 4-2-3-1 with Cornell in goal, Chambers, Wolfenden, McGuinness, Ward, Dazelle and Hughes as the double pivot, Caden Jackson wide right, doesn't really seem to suit him, Dobber on the left, and Judge in his preferred number 10 behind Aaron Drinan. Just a quick look at the Swindon team. They're obviously struggling near the bottom, but have made some pretty astute loan signings, including Travers in goal, who's well thought of. Thompson, also on loan from Brentford at left back. He looks a good player. I think one time Ipswich loanee Zeki Friars was playing centre back with Conroy, and the rather grey Caddis was playing right back. They played 4-2-3-1 with Lydon and Palmer in front of the back four, Twine on the right, Jayasemi on the left, and the on loan Matt Smith, who's on loan from Arsenal behind former Ipswich favourite Brett Pittman. And while we were up against the Swindon Slugs, it was Ipswich who started sluggish, Joe, and we soon found ourselves a goal behind.
Yeah, so it just been, we picked up exactly where we'd left off from previously. Slow, sluggish football, total lack of tempo, sort of no real movement, just ball to the centre-backs, slow out to the full-backs, back into the centre-backs, back to Dazelle, him trying to basically hit a long diagonal to the wingers, generally failing, and then we just get hit, really, isn't it? I think Jayasemi has the ball in the midfield. Chambers goes in to try and win the ball off him and doesn't get close enough to him, or he's lost him at that point. Jackson just doesn't go at all with Thompson on the run, and Thompson's got acres of space to pick out a cross, which Chambers again hasn't gone with Jayasemi and followed him in, and he's there for the header. But like I say, it's just a mess, isn't it? It's an absolute mess of a goal. And like I say, Chambers goes in with the guy at the start, and a fullback following his wide man inside allows the whole game to open up. And this is these patterns of play and formations we're supposed to be working on for 6 months now.
Yeah, no one tracks his run, does he? You're right. He's got the ball. He's got the ball in the middle there, Jayasemi, and I think. Well, as soon as he lays it, I think he lays it off to that Twine, who we'll obviously talk about in a minute, who then just one cutting ball. And Jackson, what is he? Is he ball watching? He's nowhere near his man. He's not tracking his man at all. Good bit of players, class cross. He just stands it up with pace. And again, no one's really tracked. Just seen it just run straight, and on the face of it, yeah, it looks a really good goal, but there are big defensive deficiencies there.
Well, I don't understand how it ends up with Jayasemi there, and the two players closest to him are Chambers and Ward, the two fullbacks are closest to him. And where are the centre backs? Where's the holding midfielder? That all happens because basically Chambers goes in field with his man. But is he drawn out, or is that what he's supposed to do? Does he need to try and get the ball to Jayasemi? Because Dazelle doesn't make any moves to go over there. Wolfenden doesn't step out. I don't know, but it's basic stuff, and it's poor team management. It's that one mistake to cause us to
it's still got to be executed. It's a super cross. It's a really quality cross. He sort of drills it in, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think Brentford spent quite a bit of money to get him out of Arsenal to Brentford there. So I think he's the
left back Thompson.
Yeah,
he looked a good player. He did look a good player.
Yeah, he's obviously been a star of Brentford's run in the League Cup. He's obviously had a bit of a decision to make, because if he'd have stuck around at Brentford, he'd have played against Spurs in the week, but he decided to go to Swindon, and alas, Brentford were knocked out at Tottenham. But yeah, he looks a serious player, the left back.
Yeah, he caused us problems most of the afternoon, didn't he?
Yeah. Dave, do you want to talk us through all the chances we created in the first half?
Well, there was the one, and this is where Dazelle is. I mean, this is the one bit I thought Dazelle was poor. I mean, look, we were all fairly average, I thought, yesterday, and Dazelle was at times very sloppy in possession. He wasn't alone like that, and it was the one ball where you can see what he's about, and it was an absolutely glorious ball, wasn't it? Again, it's fairly slow and deliberate play, and Judge, to be fair to Judge, he made some good runs pretty much all game, actually. As you said, Mike, he's much preferred role, I think, in that 10 role, and it's just a class ball from Dazelle, and he's onside, and he should score. And it's a good save. It is a good save. When we said about that, Travers, it's a good save, but he still should score, really. Perhaps he sort of almost takes it too early. I think if he'd have taken it down and then taken another touch, would have given him an angle, opened it up, and then almost passed it in. But other than that, I really can't recall anything else. Was there? I can't recall.
No.
A few corners. We don't look
understand why we changed the shape, really, as well, from... Because against Burton, we played that sort of 4-2-3-1, put Hughes alongside Dazelle, which allowed Dazelle to get on the ball a little bit more. But this time it was more Dazelle sitting deep on his own, with Dazelle and Judge sort of as...
It's just not fair. It's easy. Anyone can play there. We must be the easiest side to play against. Easiest side. Just sit. Just let him play. Just let him play in front of you.
Every time Swindon got the ball, they looked dangerous, didn't they, coming forward?
Every single time. And look, and Dazelle plays that. I mean, Dazelle must have tried to play that ball, half a dozen times in the first half. All right, it comes off once, but it's just so easy. No, I thought we were poor first half, very, very poor, and changes and fair play changes need to be made at the break, and it's crying out for it. Really.
Yeah, and to his credit, Lambert did make the changes at half time with the big hitters that we mentioned earlier on, Flynn Downs and James Norwood, both deemed fit enough for 45 minutes. I think we were all maybe slightly concerned that they were going to get themselves injured again in that second half. But yeah, on the hour mark, Dave, James Norwood, right place at the right time. And
again,
one of the scruffiest goals you'll ever see.
We had huffing and puffing. We didn't really look like it. Although Judge had the shot. The Judge shot was before that when he sort of scraped the outside of the post. But other than that, we hadn't really created a lot at all. And this was a really good ball from Jackson. I think Chambers wins it. And sort of knocks it to Jackson. And for once, he sort of gets it out of his feet. Really good ball. And I mean, Norwood gets so lucky. I mean, he'd have been slated for that absolute air shot from about 6 yards out. Caddis can't react, sort of rebounds back to him, and fair play. He's got the presence of mind just to spin and can't really miss from left foot from about 5 yards. But a good ball from Jay. I felt sorry for Jackson. He's like, as Mercer was saying, fish up a tree out wide, and he's just not his game at all. Horrible. But it's fair play. He stuck to it, and that was a quality ball in.
But with regards to Jackson out wide, I thought against Burton he played quite well there because he was coming in, making runs off the striker from out wide. He sort of played out to in quite a lot and actually made quite a big difference there. But I just sent you guys a message in the group, and I've just retweeted it as well from ITFC Analytics, and it shows the that
heat map.
It shows the sort of positions of where the guys are touching the ball. Jackson's is pinned to the touchline. Dobra is sort of pinned to the touch on the other side, but Jackson is totally pinned to the touch. And that's got to be instruction, hasn't it? That's
got to be.
Where, like I say, you look against Burton, and he's coming in off that side and making things happen. And like I say, all the guys listen. Look at my Twitter, and it's from ITFC Analytics account. You should all be following because he put some really good stuff on there. And you just look at where Jackson's played.
Unbelievable. He's in a straight line.
He's been told to hug the line, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's like you saw quite early on in the game. Jackson did whip in quite a nice cross from the right touch line.
He has got that.
I mean, it looked like they'd been. Maybe that's the moves that they've been practicing in training.
And I tried to make the pitch so wide, but it just meant we just got exploited up the middle all the time.
Yeah. And he's probably, to be fair, Joe, he's probably up against two better left-sided players than he was up against Burton, probably.
Yeah, fair point. But so a very scruffy goal from Norwood, Dave. But then a few minutes later, we saw something a little bit special, didn't we?
Do you know what this goal reminded me of? This goal reminded me, not quite in the very next moment. And I know we always hark back to better days, but Bolton playoff, Alan Johnston. Bolton playoff, Alan Johnson. What a strike! But look, there's no pressure. Again, there is no pressure on him at all. But to be fair, it comes. They've got the ball and they're passing around. They're passing it around quite nicely. I think they work it left, right from right to left. They work it left, and I think it's probably Thompson or Fries that passes the ball inside to Twine, and he just can turn. He has a little look. He even has a little look before he receives the ball, which is the mark of a good player as it is. He's on the half turn, receives the ball. Just no one. But look, it's class, isn't it? Yeah, at that level, that is a class goal. You won't see many better goals than that this season. At that level, I don't think. What a goal!
I think at any level, really.
Well, you're probably right.
Yeah. The keeper's position is fine, but even if he was stood on the edge of his 6 yard box, that would have lobbed him. It was unsavable. If you were standing on your line, you might have just made it.
And the ball must dip almost 10 feet. It's unbelievable goal. Unbelievable goal.
If the goalie was standing on his line, he might have just about kept that out.
Yeah,
you wouldn't be standing there. But
no, you don't. You don't. Yeah.
The problem is that at this point we had started to. At that point, you just said if any team's going to win this, it's going to be us now, because the way we play, we just have like sort of our whole midfield and defence sit together as one unit, but that unit was sitting in their half, and we looked like we were starting to try and turn the screw a little bit, but. Like I said, that goal just knocked the stuffing out of us, and like I say, it was a brilliant strike. So much time to hit it, but ultimately,
it was almost like Dazelle and I forget who else was around there in the vicinity. Almost said, "Go on then, mate, have a go." Yeah, go on, have a go from there. And I think Wolfenden said it in his post-match interview, so it was kind of frustrating because when I've seen him do that at Swindon and seen him also on his loan spell, I think at Newport and stuff, does that all the time.
He got 7 goals from outside the box for Newport in the first half of the season.
But
crazy technique though, isn't it? It's almost
a Ronaldo
or Pirlo. Another goal that it kind of reminded me of, although I thought this one was better, was Jordan Henderson away at Chelsea a few years ago, where the ball was just so high, but then he's sort of come around the ball, whereas this guy just got under it. It was like a lob wedge shot almost, wasn't it?
Well, he hits it straight. It's such a good goal because you're right. He doesn't hit it with his instinct. He doesn't come around the ball. So usually those sort of goals, a bit like Johnston's was, I referred to earlier. They sort of almost get it out of their feet and hit across the ball. But he doesn't hit across it. He hits it off his lacer. It's such a hard skill. It's such a hard skill. And that, as Joe said, that I think when it got back to 1-1, we've seen games like that. Down there before, this season before, the momentum's with us. What will happen here? We won't deserve it, but we'll scrape a 2-1 win or something like that. We won't deserve it, and but you can't. Yeah, you're right. They just knocked the stuffing. It was just unbelievable shot, unbelievable goal.
And 7 minutes later, Joe, defeat looked inevitable as Swindon made it 3-1. Not quite as impressive this one.
No, this one is one that again is sort of on Chambers' side, and you've got to stop the cross, and he just gets, like I say, he's right-footed out there, and he just comes inside, and it's easy. He puts a cross in, and like I say, McGuinness doesn't defend it that well either. Like I say, you've got Brett Pittman, who I thought schooled McGuinness and Wolfenden all night. He just like for a player that looks sort of a lot more overweight than when he was with us. I thought his sort of game smarts just. He really gave Wolfenden and McGuinness a tough time, and like I say, that's one of the problems with having 2 teenagers or young players in at centre half, because we just all game he just sort of got on top of us, and even then he gets ahead of McGuinness and gets a touch on that when he has no right to, or doesn't get a touch on it, but he does enough to keep it going, and it just whips in the bottom corner. One of those ones that keeper can't really do anything about because he's got to be set for the touch, and when it doesn't come, it just whips past him, doesn't it?
Yeah, I say he bullied them really, because physically I don't think he bullied them, but I think up there, and you probably got to say someone like Wilson alongside, or maybe even NTR alongside one of them. They'd perhaps he'd have taken control of him, but took responsibility for Pittman more maybe. But it was you're done there. 93-1, that's done really.
McGuinness actually wallops him twice, once at the start of the first half and once at the start of the second half. I don't know if whether that was contrived. Maybe he thought, I'll smash him early on and then he won't fancy it. But
he's too cute for that.
He's nowhere near as athletic as McGuinness, but it showed that it's all between the ears, isn't it?
Of course it is at that level.
So the reaction from Ipswich was to bring Lancaster on for Dobra, who had... We'll get on to talking about Dobra because there's a question on him, but quite a frustrating night for him after quite a bright start. Lancaster looked okay when he came on, and Alan Judge finally got on the score sheet, Dave, with a few minutes to go. 87
really good from Norwood, wasn't it? Really good. I mean, blimey. I think Jackson, again, Jackson's involved, sort of lobs one, sort of, I think Chambers wins it on the touchline, Jackson turns and sort of like cushions a pass in that area. I think beyond the fullback and between the fullback and centre half, and I think actually that's Thompson. I think, and good for Norwood. He sort of gets hold of the ball, holds off Thompson, tries to sort of work it on his right foot, knows the angle's not there. Good turn back on his left foot, and this is a bloody delightful ball, isn't it? Just a little 5 yard, not even that, 2 or 3 yard ball. And and I got to say, Judge made those runs all night, and
he did.
Finishes under the keeper. But very good from Norwood, who I'd say was probably the one bright spot, positive note from yesterday, really.
Yep. I'll probably agree. Yeah, 3-2 was obviously how it ended. Our 9th defeat in 15. Let's move on to the Twitter questions to...
Is there any?
Dissect it further if we can.
On fire.
Yeah. Thanks for everyone for getting involved with that. I have to say there was more comments than questions on this occasion, which is maybe a sign of the anger that's the feeling towards the club at the moment. Chris Rand came in nice and early. I'll come to you first, Joe. He says, you can only play with the players you've got, but there are other examples of teams where the two fullbacks... Are there any examples of teams where the two fullbacks are twice the age of the two centre-halves? I can't think of any. It's normally the other way round. There aren't any examples, are there, Jay?
No, and like I say, it's just it's not the fact that the two fullbacks are 35 that's the problem. It's the fact that we're playing a system which expects the fullbacks to be able to run up and down the pitch all game, to be an attacking outlet, and also to defend the whole flank of the pitch on their own. Like I say, it takes a very special player to be able to do that. And like I say, two 35-year-old fullbacks, I think Ward's been struggling big time for the first 3 or 4 games of the season. I think he struggled. Chambers probably not quite as long, but over the last few games has struggled. And ultimately, the team needs to be set up to suit the players that you've got available. We've got a very experienced manager, and ultimately, anyone here would set this team up differently. And like I say, if Chambers and Ward as two fullbacks in a 4-4-2 with a bit of protection in front of them, with Norwood and Jackson up front together, you're going to get more success out of that than you are with this ludicrous formation where you need Dani Alves on one side and Roberto Carlos on the other, just to be able to, or at this level, like Kane Vincent-Young when he came into the team. But even if Kane Vincent-Young comes back and can play this role, we still haven't got anyone on the left-hand side that can do it. And we're still going to get attacked down there. And it's just, it's embarrassing how poorly we're set up.
And I'll come back to you, Joe. Do you think when Kane Vincent-Young does come back into the team, do you think Luke Chambers moves into centre-half, or has he got a fight in his hands to get in?
Well, I don't really see that anyone's playing well at centre-half recently. I don't think Wolfie's been particularly good all season. McGuinness makes a lot of errors. Toto, well, we all know what Toto is. I thought James Wilson started the season well, but then he fell behind Toto in the pecking order, so who knows? But ultimately, I don't think Chambers should struggle to get in that team at centre-back because no one's playing well there. But how are we going to be able to rely on Kane Vincent-Young to come in? And is he going to be as good as we remember? He's not played for 14 months. He's played 9 games for us, 2 of which he went off injured in. So it's like I say, it's a guy that's played half a dozen games.
Unknown, really.
Is he going to be able to come in and play twice a week for 8 weeks in a row in that way? No. So we're going to need to... Him and Chambers are probably going to need to rotate it, which leaves us with the same problem.
Yeah.
David, we're talking about the whole match day like it was all doom and gloom, but I don't know about you, but when Cadiz got booked for hauling down young Dobra early on, I was fairly...
Yeah, it's a bit of a harsh one.
Fairly optimistic.
I thought that was a harsh one, and then you would think that 10 minutes. But again, very old. Well, the Silver Fox, one very old experienced pro. But you think we'd have been game smart enough and cute enough to play on that. Really,
this is Rich Woodward's question. Did we forget that Cadiz was on a yellow for 80 minutes? Would it have made a difference perhaps if Lambert was on the touchline? Because they never even swapped Jackson over to trying to have a run against him, because you'd think that would have been Dobra. The whole game seemed to be played out wide on the right.
Yeah, that would have been the ideal solution for me. I think Rich makes a good point. Really, we didn't play on that at all. Too comfortable.
Now, this is always quite a difficult question, Joe, when you're in League One. But Jack Todd asks, if you could bring 3 players in January, who would they be? Who have you got your eye on? I'm not expecting you to have 3 realistic targets sitting in the top of your head, but could you name one or two?
Can we get a player manager? To me, I think the biggest problems we've got, I think like I say, Vincent Young hopefully gives us a right back who's capable of playing this absurd way that Lambert is insisting on playing. Stephen Ward isn't, so some left back, an equivalent of Thompson, who's gone to Swindon and played there yesterday, a left back that can get up and down the pitch, defend, and sort of contribute in the attacking sense. I also think it's wide players, isn't it? I see we've been linked with Luke Thomas at Barnsley. Well, I think he would improve us because, like I say, we're playing two wingers, and yesterday it was Caden Jackson and Armando Dobra.
Not wingers.
Say, is it any coincidence that Stephen Ward's form has tailed off since Freddie Sears has stopped playing in front of him? A player that does give him the discipline to get around him, maybe doesn't contribute as much in an attacking sense, but he is actually clever enough and disciplined enough to get back and help him out. Same with Gwion Edwards in front of Luke Chambers. Is this the problem, that we're missing Sears and Edwards? I think it could well be. And if we're missing Sears and Edwards, then they're the only two players in the squad that can probably play that role, that we need to get backups for them that are proper wingers, but also wide midfielders.
Yeah.
Dave, would you agree with that? A left back and a...
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And I think Joe makes a point there. I know good old Harry was always on about the, partnerships within teams. And to be fair, early season when we're getting results, that Sears and Ward partnership on the left was working really well, wasn't it? Interchanging really nicely. And we missed that. And I think, Ward, that's probably, Ward's level has dropped off incredibly since those first half dozen games, probably. So, I think that's a factor. And look, Edwards, playing wide, but he was a source of our goals. Not the source of our goals. He was our goals, wasn't he? For goodness sake, and Bishop as well. It's been a tough one, but you'd expect those two, to come back and make a difference. But left back, and a wide player. But I mean, as soon as you talk about this Luke Thomas, I couldn't believe it. He was a £1 million player. He went from Derby for $1 million, 1.2, something like that. Yeah. I mean, thinking of how we are at the moment and the structure and everything, if anyone else is sniffing, how likely are we to be in with a chance of that? Very, very slim, I would say.
But remember, Janoy Danasia was almost £1 million, Dave. So
good point. Yeah, good point.
Caden Jackson was over $1 million.
Good point. Well made.
Trying to clutch at straws a little bit.
Yeah.
Nick asks, can you think of another manager who believes sitting off the opposition and playing without a tempo beats opponents? So depressing when we don't look too bad when we actually press. Problem is, no one at the club seems to care except the fans. Go on, Joe, you seem fired up.
I think the problem is it's like if you watch Newcastle under Steve Bruce, it's the way they play, or Ipswich under McCarthy at times play like this. But if you want to play with such a slow tempo and sit off the opposition, it's because you're an organised defensive team that wants to hit quickly on the attack.
Yeah,
we're trying to do it and be a possession team. They don't go. You can't be a possession team and be so passive on the ball. It doesn't work. It's just they're just mutually exclusive for me. You just cannot be both. If you want to be passive, it's because you're a team that wants to sit back and try and hit teams on the counter.
Yeah, and Dave, when we did look dangerous against Swindon, it was when we were going quite direct, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, albeit first half when we tried it, Dryden didn't have his best games. Ball just wasn't sticking at all. And it's a big difference when Norwood came up. We talk about certainly the second goal. So it just frustrates the hell out of me. We were so slow and so predictable and so ponderous. Is that great? I think that's a probably good word, ponderous. Even looking at Swindon yesterday, their passing was much crisper, short, crisp. Into feet, back out, into feet, working the ball across the pitch. It's just so slow and just so. And as I said, we must be the easiest side to play against. The easiest side.
For all the possession we have, we create chances from turnovers. The goal is because Chambers nicks the ball off
Not through our possession.
Fullback and gives it to Jackson, crosses it.
Yeah.
Dazelle wins that ball in the midfield, and Norwood flicks it on for Judge's chance. It's all, like I say, it's Chambers won the ball back for the second goal as well, didn't it? It's all times where we get the ball back and we do something quickly. It's the only time we create any chances, but yet we have 60% of the ball doing absolutely fuck all with it, basically, and then we end up doing nothing with it because it's so easy to set up against.
And the only player that really has made a difference, we've been playing like that all season. The only player that does make a difference and break the lines is Bishop. who can do that. But
or Dazelle with a pass sometimes.
Well, or Dazelle with a pass. Yeah,
you ask him to play through 9 players at times with a pass, aren't you? And he did that brilliant ball to Judge.
He frustrated me yesterday. He frustrated me yesterday. Dazelle is so sloppy at times, so careless with the ball. I mean, I'm not saying when he's trying to play those defence splitting balls, I'm not saying that, but just some easy balls. He's just so careless. But look, that went through the whole team yesterday, not just him.
Yeah. Steve Lewis, you like this one, Dave? Did we forget we had Jackson out wide right when we were 3-1 down, so we could switch to a 4-4-2 in the way we did against Burton with immediate reward? I can't actually remember that, but
just remind me at the start of last season. What was those two that played up front for us? Norwood and Jackson, was it? Yeah, I mean, it went quite well, didn't it? I thought it went quite well. We'll totally abandon that, and let's think so we're 3-2 down or 3-1 down. Let's think, where will we? Oh yeah, the start of last season. Oh yeah, they're both on the Norwood and Jackson. Just throw them in there. It just seems an absolute bloody divine right that we will not play 4-4-2. We will not go with 2 up front, whatever.
Well, after the Burton game, Jackson came out and said, "I'd much prefer playing with a partner, whether it's Connie or Nors or Aaron. We learn each other's games. We play off them. That's what I want to do." Oh no, you
said it. That's it. Shouldn't have said that.
Paint on your boots and just pin yourself to the touchline.
That heat map. If anyone, you've got to see that. That heat map of Joe's is just unbelievable. Yeah, he is. Yeah, literally white paint on his boots.
Yeah. Patrick Palmer, Joe, does Paul Lambert keep his job at any other club with this awful record and no sign of improvement? Does anyone care enough in power to consider this?
No, he doesn't keep his job at any other club because ultimately he's come in when we've still got half a chance of staying up when he comes in, and we go down. We finish below Bolton, who end up with no players basically. We finish 11th in League One, and now we're going to be 11th in League One again this season if things carry on. And you look at it, and for a manager to fail sort of 2.5 seasons in a row. Generally, you'd only get away with that if you had a lot of credit in the bank from before.
Yeah, or if you're a club legend or something.
If you've taken them up and then you've failed because you've come back down and then you've not been able to turn it around. Like, for example, like Paul Warne at Rotherham, if he didn't get them back up last year, it's another failure. But Lambert has got no credit in the bank with the fan base because he hasn't achieved anything on the pitch. He might have done some good sort of fan engagement, which was important at the start, but that is long forgotten now when you look at the sort of the way what the fan base thinks of him. And I don't think it's just sort of the vocal minority. Everyone I speak to it's the same. And like I say, he's got no credit in the bank, and he's failing for the 3rd season in a row, and the issues are basic. So no, I don't. I think the problem is Marcus Evans just did not have a clue about football. That's the biggest issue we've got.
Yeah.
One man that does know a lot about football, though, is Dave Diamond. I'm going to come to you for the next question. Does this result make Lambert a worse manager than Paul Hurst? I don't think it comes down to this result, does it? But...
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's just the constant, as Joe just said, Joe just summed it up, really. It's just a constant underachieving for the, 2 seasons that he's been there. I totally agree. Any other club, I'm convinced, any other club, he would be gone by now. And he's sitting there with still, 4 years left now, Joe? Did he sign it about a year ago? Is that right?
About this time last year?
4 years. I mean, it is just absolutely mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. And just, look, I think... It's sad. It's sad. We're staunch fans. We go back. I always hark back to history and stuff like that. I honestly think the club is at the lowest ebb probably it's ever been. It's ever been, and something needs to happen. Something needs to happen. I just almost lost for words. Honestly, it just beats me up every single time. The guy who sits there, sat there watching Sky last night. The guy sitting in the studio there, Paul Cook. He's still available. The Cowleys, Joe's still available.
Yeah, incredibly.
Summarise, and they're still out there. I don't understand it. It just frustrates the hell out of me. But while he's still there, nothing is going to change. And as Joe said, we're just going to finish. Well, we'll do well to finish 11th probably. Again, mid-table in League One. It is an absolute disgrace and a shambles, really.
And people will say, "Oh, well, Marcus Evans is a bigger issue. We're not going anywhere with Marcus Evans."
Well,
and I don't think any of us would claim that Evans isn't a big problem at Ipswich Town. Like Dave, what you're saying there, we're at the lowest ebb. You're a fan of sort of 50 odd years.
Yeah,
we're at the lowest ebb. And it's not just fan feeling. This is the lowest ebb. This is the lowest we've been since. Before my dad was born, we haven't been this low in the league, let alone before I was born. And it's just, like I say, it's unbelievable that it's still going on. And like I say, Evans is a big problem, but ultimately, big problems don't get solved very easily. And like I say, the club is at such a low ebb. Evans has such an easy get out here, and the easy get out is to pay up Paul Lambert, get rid of him because he is failing totally as a manager. Get rid of him. That would lift the spirit of the fan base straight away, rightly or wrongly. Exactly. Yeah, it might be a sticking plaster over a wound, but
it'd be a breath of fresh air, Joe. A breath of fresh air right through the club.
But Mick McCarthy came in when we were bottom of the league with Paul Jewell, and sort of for all the problem that Evans is, we were one game away from being promoted to the Premier League, effectively. And as Evans was as bad an owner then as he is now, it's not like he's improved since then or was a much better owner then. He was paying the bills then. We weren't recruiting then. We just had a good manager that was able to
organise
the club going. And
sometimes a blind squirrel finds a nut, Joe. So we just have to hope that this blind squirrel finds another one.
We're not going to change the owner. That isn't going to happen. And people can say it. People can say it till they're blue in the face, but the owner is not going to change because.
And look, let's
there's probably no one out there, and secondly, he doesn't want to sell.
No,
people have approached him by all accounts, and he does not want to sell. So there's nothing we can do about it.
We'd be knackered. We'd be buggered without this owner. Yeah, with the money he's putting into the club, we'd be gone. We'd be comfortably in administration. Probably 2 seasons ago.
Well, the commentator on Sky last night was saying that the Swindon owner, that Lee Power, was putting in £380,000 a month. Just finding someone to cover, and that's double that at Ipswich. If you want to look at the sort of brass
we saw the wages, didn't we? If they were purported that came out the other week, if that was correct.
Somebody needs to be writing a cheque for the best part of £1 million a month to keep the club running at the moment. And like I say, Evans has shown his aptitude for being a football club owner is not there. And like I say, I'm not going to sit here and defend him and say he's fine, but ultimately the short-term solution required is a new manager, because this manager cannot set up a team. And you look at the players that we've got, and it's, like I say, it's embarrassing how poor we are. Like Swindon yesterday, 7 changes from the game before, 2 new signings, 2 players returned from loan, 3 other players brought back in, a manager that was appointed on November the 13th. Last 6 games, they've got 1 point. They looked much better than us, much better organised than us, much better coached than us, and they just picked us off effectively at will. And we've got a manager who's been in here 2 years, and we're still setting up. Well, like I say, we spent all last season changing our setup every single game, and this season we're sticking to this come hell or high water, no matter what players are available. We're not trying to win games. It's like he's trying to prove a point to Marcus Evans sometimes, you think, with this style of play.
And this whole COVID thing has brought in a bit of time as well, hasn't it? You know, it's got him.
Saved his job at least twice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's rotten, mate. It's rotten, boys.
In our last 13 games,
top to bottom is rotten.
13 games, we've got 16 points in our last 13 games. If you did the league, we had 16 points after 6 games. If you do a league table from that point, we're 18th in it.
Yeah.
It's the same that happened last year. It's not like we just drop off and struggle. We drop off to relegation form, and that relegation form hangs about for months and months on end. And that the last 13 games, 8 of them have been at home. 8 of our last 13 have been at home, and we've picked up 16 points.
Well, we won 6 straight home games with like the last teams without 100% home record in the country, and we now lost. I looked at it. We now lost 4 home games.
Yeah, we lost 4 out of the last 6, and the 2 that we won was sort of Burton with that.
Yeah,
Shrewsbury, wasn't it?
Crew, yeah, I think it was Crew.
Shrewsbury.
Shrewsbury, we were awful.
Crew, who I noticed earlier, are just one place below us now.
Yeah.
Where the hell did they come from?
Well, they were 3-0 up at half time and drew 3-3.
Oh, really? No.
Dylan asks, Dave, how likely is it that Lambert will be sacked at the start of February when the window's just shut? I don't know about you, but I'd probably take the start of February now. I'm not worried about it.
No, exactly. If that's as soon as he goes.
My question then is, Dave, do you think that we'll be able to raise a glass in a pub somewhere when Lambert is sacked?
I hope not, because by the time we raise a glass in a pub when Lambert's sacked, that's likely to be, well, that's certainly not going to be before Easter, is it? No. And as Joe said, we've got to play 90% of the games before Easter. So no, that's no. Hopefully not. Hopefully we can toast his memory, so at some point. But yeah, Christ. Something's got. I mean, look, Burton away on Saturday. That's for us. That's a real potential banana skin. And then you don't pick up anything from that, and then bang, you've got Sunderland and Peterborough coming up.
Yeah,
mate, we could be below mid-table, for Christ's sake.
Joe, we've spoken at length about the manager. You've also spoken about the owner. Ashley Eldon's question is on the players. When was the last time a Town player had a really good game? I guess maybe Guion Edwards at Blackpool. Has there been any really good individual performances since?
Teddy Bishop's put in a couple of good individual performances, but you're going back to the start of the season, aren't you, for these good individual performances? But I'd say I don't even think that the players are sort of playing that bad individually. I don't think they're not playing well at the start. But if you look at the team yesterday, I wouldn't say anyone's had a particularly awful game. They've just been below average, really, just not that great. No one's having an absolute stinker out there. It's just the way we're set up. It's just, I'd say we're easy to defend against and we're easy to attack against.
Yeah, okay, you can't believe some of those run-out ratings don't really mean a lot, but I don't think it was many who started that game would come out with it with any more than a 4, somewhere below par, Christ, and that was, I think, doing one or two of them quite, doing them a favour, really. Well, it was poor, and so it's collectively poor, wasn't it? Just all over the pitch, really.
Absolutely. David Bloomfield asked, does anyone really think that the players returning changes anything? There'll be the same turgid attacking football there has been since Lambert joined. It's clearly the way we're being coached and managed. When do you think
it is? Yeah. Look, if you can get, and we've harped on about it long enough, if you can get Vincent Young back, albeit Joe's quite right, he's not going to play Saturday, Tuesday. But if you can get him back in the team, you get Bishop back in the team, Edwards back in the team. Surely there's your goals back for a start. So that gives the team a hell of a lift to start with. And if you can get them back in the team and potentially get 1 or 2 new faces in, again, that will freshen things up, give the squad a lift. Then look, bizarrely, the league I think is so crap. We're not out of it, are we? We're still. I think if we'd have won yesterday, we'd have been up to 3rd. Would we have been up to somewhere around there? I'm sure we would have been. We're not out of it, but it just needs the place. It just needs a lift, and quickly. And I can honestly see us going to Burton, coming unstuck at Burton, and then you are nowhere, because with those 2 games coming up, and with our mental our record and our it's almost a mental thing against the top 6, the top 10 sides. Yeah,
I think with regards to quality of players, you see what difference Norwood made yesterday. It's just you can play crap, but just have a better plan. It makes you play better. So
that's how we've won as many games as we have won, isn't it?
Yeah,
just having
because decent players out on the pitch. Bishop and Edwards, those games we won, they were probably the difference in most of those games. Yeah.
Okay, Tom Agnett's question: is this the end of the Stephen Ward experiment? It's probably not, is it? Because
who's going to play there?
Not going to come in.
Who's going to play there?
It should be the end of the Stephen Ward as a marauding fullback who also manages the whole side of the pitch experiment, but he's going to be a perfectly serviceable left back at this level, isn't he? But you've just got to set the team up around your players' strengths, and I say it's basic, isn't it? You try and highlight your strengths and hide your weaknesses, but I say his weakness is his legs, getting up and down the pitch, and I say you see how easily he got turned for that one in the first half where he just dummied him and just walked past him. Caddis, wasn't it? And it's like a player of that quality doesn't make that mistake if he's sort of playing properly, and it's just he must see that whole pitch in front of him and see Dobra in front of him not really doing a lot to protect him and think, what am I doing here?
Okay, I'll have a talk quickly through the league table. Obviously, not much has changed because not many teams played this weekend. But yeah, as you alluded to, Dave, Accrington are in 6th now on 33 points. They've got 4 games in hand on Lincoln at the top.
I don't know, 17 games, haven't they? Yeah.
So Lincoln are top with 42 points, but they've played 21 games, which is more than everyone in the top half of the league. Hull are second, played 38 points. Then it's Portsmouth, who haven't had a particularly good season, but they're up there in 3rd. Doncaster are in 4th. You would say they've turned things around under Darren Moore. They are having a good season. Peterborough aren't having a good season. They're still up there in 5th. They're on 33 points, same as Accrington, who obviously really are firing. Charlton lost on Friday night, didn't they, Joe?
To Accrington.
To Accrington,
yeah. They're on
really well.
32 points. They've played one more game than us, so if we were to win that game in hand, we would go above Charlton, so we'd kind of be 7th. But
I think Cook summed it up in the studio. I think it was Cook who said in the studio yesterday that any team, even at this stage of the season, that can put 4 or 5 wins together, you're probably going to be top 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because
I thought the table was really favourable to Lambert earlier in the season because we'd played more than everyone, and it was like, oh yeah, well we're 2 points off second or whatever it was when we won a game, and all of a sudden that was like a big talking point. And it's like, well, this table is telling a lie because of how much everyone's played. But then everyone around us played all their games in hand and more, but didn't pick up any points.
No.
So the table still looks like, oh yeah, well we're still in touch. It's like, well, we need to not be in touch. We need to be top. That's what we want to be, top, second. And we've got the squad that should be doing that. Swindon, they'd had 1 point from 6 coming into yesterday's game, and they turn us over. I say Burton, we beat them luckily at the end. Shrewsbury, were crap, we beat them luckily. We need to just play to our potential.
Again, Swindon, I thought looked half decent, but how much is that us making them look, better than they are? I think there probably is a lot of it. It's technically really good players there. But I think we touched on it before. When does it come? Where is the breaking point here? Where do we have to be before he acts? Do we have to be, I don't know, 11th or 12th, and even with our games in hand, won't take us any higher than, I don't know, 8th or something like that? Is that the breaking point? I don't know. Who knows? It's
in a couple of weeks we'll have played this Burton game, and we'd have played against
Sunderland and
Peterborough and Sunderland. Lose all 3.
Surely
that's 4 defeats in a row. We'll probably be mid-table.
Yeah, and any games in hand will take us. You're right, to 4 or 5 points, maybe off 6th. Surely then, but. Oh, I don't know.
We'll probably, what will happen. We'll scrape past Burton. We'll get a 1-0 out there. We'll lose at home to Sunderland. We'll get a point against Peterborough, and we'll just do just enough to keep him in the job. That's what we've done. The last few months.
Another little 2-week COVID break.
Then it's Crewe away at the end of January, and then we go to Wimbledon away, which has got 0-0 written all over it again, hasn't it? And then
I mean, Crewe away. I mean, like I said, Crewe are only a place behind them. That's no gimme at all, is it? For goodness sake. Things could look. I mean, things I think are bad now, and everyone's very, pessimistic. Everything after yesterday, but believe me, things could look.
I think why everyone's so pessimistic after yesterday is that we'd had this long break, and football fans are stupid, and I include myself in this, and it's like you think, this is going to be the point. We've had this break now. We're going to come into the game, and this might give us a chance to start our season again. New year, few players back fit, 3.5 week break. We should all be fresh, fit, organised, ready to go, and we just turn up and put that performance in. And it's that 3.5 week break, that might as well have been a 3-day break because we're just back to exactly where we were.
Here we are. Dave, I did forget one of the questions. Somebody asked for you to shout your catchphrase for a megaphone. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, I haven't got a megaphone. I'll tell you what I've got. I've got a bit of an impromptu megaphone. It's my so I explained I had a little bit of an issue with my my boiler on Thursday night. Basically burst. I've got my Direct Line Home Insurance Plus policy, so, which I'm going to go. There you go.
Absolutely beautiful. And yeah, that was probably the high point of your week in the end, wasn't it, Dave? The boiler going.
Don't even go there. The boiler went Thursday night. No heating and stuff. Got up Friday morning and switched on the radio. And it's a cold one. It's -6. Yeah, tell me about it. Oh my god. So I got some heating at that. I got some heating back at least. Yeah.
Lovely.
Oh my goodness me.
Which brings us on to you don't have any hot water, Dave, but do you have any plugs?
I don't think. I'm all out of plugs. No plugs at all this week. I don't think. Albeit, I will just go back. Anyone who hasn't seen it, thanks, because I know there's been. I think something has 400 views or something. But just prior to Christmas, I was fortunate enough to have a sit down and sort of speak, obviously Zoom with Ray Crawford for about hour and a half. An absolute delight. The guy is 85 and he is absolutely superb. So yeah, anyone who hasn't listened, feel free to go to the YouTube channel and have a watch and listen to that, because it's I think I've got this sort of grin right the way through, fixed for an hour and a half. He was absolutely superb. Some great stories going back in the day, obviously to the Alf Ramsey and the glory days.
You enjoyed that one, I take it, Joe?
Yeah, no, really good. Just for somebody of that age, he's still so lucid, isn't he? His memories of it are so good. And like I said, this is a proper legend, isn't it? All-time club-leading goal scorer, title winner.
I mean, one of the stories...
First division title winner, England recognition, and not enough England recognition, as you sort of go into with him.
I mean, one of the stories is just brilliant. Just quickly summary, where he's, I think they're playing AC Milan in the second leg of the European Cup. But his car breaks down, so he has to get a bus from Norwich Road down to football, and gets in half an hour before the game. And I sort of said, well, what? And he said, Alf Ramsey said, Ray, where have you been? Get changed. Let's kick off in 30 minutes. Yeah, that is brilliant. Great.
I met Ray Crawford that around the back of the old Britannia stand a few years ago when I was a kid. My mum was chewing his ear off, I'm sure, and she said, "Oh, come and meet this man. He's scored more Ipswich Town goals than any other player." And he introduced himself and said, "If I was playing today, I'd be worth millions." Absolutely brilliant. And of course he would be, wouldn't he?
Just money can buy him. Him and Phillips, the two of them. I mean, incredible. Yeah, it's good stuff. Cheers.
And Joe, before we go, do you have anything to plug? Are the youngsters in action this week?
Not that I'm aware of. They played a friendly against Crystal Palace, beat them. They're under 23s yesterday, but that was two different teams for each half. So there's still no date on the Youth Cup. There's been games scheduled, but who knows whether they're going ahead at the moment. I know the players are in and games are going ahead, but like I say, keep an eye on the Academy Twitter feed and I'll try and post anything when I hear it from there.
Who they got in that, Joe? Who they got in the Cup?
It's either Swindon or Bromley. Met Police were knocked out by... I think Swindon beat Met Police and now they face Bromley. Luke Wolfenden's two lone clubs.
Yeah.
Great stuff. So yeah, please like this video on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter if you don't already, Instagram at Blue Monday Team. We'll be back next Sunday to talk over the Burton game, and hopefully we'll be talking about who's going to replace Paul Lambert. Who knows? But yeah, any last words just before we go?
Lambert out.
Lambert out. Dave?
Ditto.
Yeah. Which, I don't feel like I can say be careful what you wish for after the back of those two. So, yeah, wish for whatever you like.